What's up guys, Abbas here for Paper Plane Productions. I hope you all are having an awesome weekend. This is going to be an awesome tutorial because today I'm going to show y'all how to own your Instagram game using Lightroom. Where's that intro at? So if you guys are planning to take up photography either as a profession or just as a hobby, Lightroom is a super awesome tool to have in your arsenal because it just takes your work to the next level. It's just, oh, it's money. It's just, ah. But before we jump into Lightroom, there's a quick note that I want to give you all, and that is if you can shoot in RAW, then definitely do that. Most cameras and DSLRs can shoot in RAW, and what that does, it lets you save your picture as a CR2 file rather than a JPEG. And these CR2 files have way more information in them. So when you put them into Lightroom and edit them, you don't lose out on quality. So RAW, not JPEG. Yeah, cool, awesome. Boom, Lightroom. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and open up Lightroom, and as you can see I've already imported the picture, and to do this you can either go to the import button on the bottom left, or you can go up to the file and hit import photos and video. Once you've done that and you have the picture into Lightroom, you can click it and we go to the develop module. Once you get there, you see that there are three parts essentially, the on the left, on the right, and at the bottom, where you have on your left the presets, your history, etc. And at the bottom are your pictures that you've already imported. And on the right are your actual editing settings, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump all the way to the bottom and fix my lens correction. So you go into profile, hit enable profile correction and choose the camera you used. I've used a Canon, so that's what I'm going to do. And you're also going to hit your chromatic aberration, and that's going to give you the picture you essentially got right out of your camera. Once that's done, you can start using other tabs, and I'm going to start by going to the basic correction, and as you can see that this is a little dark because I got the sunlight at the back. This was just the kind of picture I wanted to get. So to fix the exposure first, I'm actually going to add a little exposure to it. About there is fine, I think. And the next thing I'm going to do is maybe bring the highlights down quite a bit to maintain detail in the clouds, so I get the clouds looking as crisp as they are. Maybe I'll drop them by 100, I think. Yeah, that's fine. And the next thing I'm going to do is bring up my shadows a lot, because as you can see about 90% of the picture is in shadow. So to get that detail back, I am going to up my shadows. And I'm also going to up the blacks a bit just to get that detail back in the darker areas of the picture. So I'm a huge fan of clarity, so the next thing I'm going to do is add quite a bit of clarity, about 34 maybe. And I guess I'll leave the vibrance as is for now. Alright, so the next tab is the tone curve, and one of the classic techniques in a tone curve is creating an S-curve. You do that by adding a point in the midtones, the highlights, and the shadows. So the top of your S-curve represents your highlights, and the bottom represents your shadows. So by creating an S-curve, that is by upping your highlights and dropping your shadows, not that point, dropping your shadows, you create a little contrast in the entire picture without actually changing the contrast slider whatsoever. So if you look at the before and after, looks something like that. The next thing we want to do is add a bit of fade to the picture to give it a kind of a filmic look. And we do that by upping the point right at the bottom and giving a kind of fade to the entire picture. And that's our before and after. It already looks pretty cool. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to jump into the camera calibration tab, which is what we use to create the orange and teal look in our picture. So orange and teal is basically a cinematic look that a lot of photographers and videographers like Sam Colder put into their pictures. It uses the colors orange and teal to create color contrast, and that is what we're going to do now. So what we do is we increase our red hue to about say 47, 50, 48 is fine, and drop our blues to a more teal. 75 seems good, and you can already tell that the oranges now look more orange and the blues look more teal. Alright, so next we're going to go into split toning, and what split toning essentially does is it adds a color in the highlights and in the shadows individually. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to up my hue, that is in my highlights, to somewhere in the oranges, again to accentuate that orange and teal look. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to up my saturation all the way so that I can see the color that I've put in and then bring it back down later. So in the shadows, like I said, I'm going to add a blue. So I'm going to find the blue that I want and up the saturation all the way so I know that that's the color that I'm using, and then slowly bring the saturation back up so I don't over edit. And I'm going to up saturation in the highlights quite a bit because I really want that orange to pop at the back. I just think that looks really cool. And the next thing I want to talk about is balance. That's the slider you see in the middle. So what that does is it allows the software to favor either the highlights or the shadows. So by dropping it, you are favoring the shadows and more of the picture will be in the shadows than the highlights. So I think I'll drop my balance. I guess that's fine. Alright, now let's jump into the HSL tab, which stands for Hue, Saturation and Luminance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the hue of the blue and the aqua to get a little more teal into the colors. So I'm going to drop my blues, the aquas by a little bit just to get a little more teal. -7 seems fine. And the next thing I'm going to do, this is pretty important, is I go into saturation and I drop everything else but the colors that would be there in orange and teal. So the magentas, purples and the greens, I drop the saturation all the way. So now only the reds, orange, yellows and blues stand out. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to leave luminance as is. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about how we can add some local adjustments to the pictures, and that is using filters. There are two kinds of filters in Lightroom. One of them is the graduated filter and one of them is the radial filter. For this tutorial, I'm going to use the graduated filter, so let's open that. Hold shift and pull up from wherever you want to add your filter. As you can see, the top part is the feather that the filter allows. So I'm going to bring that down, bring that up a bit, drop that. Yeah, I like that. And that's fine. The red part shows you what I've actually masked out. You can get that by hitting O. But as you can see that I haven't really masked out the building yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to drop my feather up my size. You can also do this by scrolling on your mouse. And I'm just going to paint in this area. This is a little tedious, but bear with me. And once you get that, you have a complete mask. So when you hit O again, you can get rid of the actual mask and you can now start making adjustments. So I think I want to up exposure a little more, maybe up my shadows a little bit. I think that's fine. And maybe add some clarity, a little contrast, I think, just to make the building pop a little more. Probably add some sharpness as well into that. And yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Hit done. And let's look at it before after. So by hitting the Y button, you can get a bunch of different angles of your before and after, top and bottom, side by side, etc. And you hit Y again, it goes back to normal. I'm pretty happy with this. I really like the orange and teal coming out now. It looks pretty cool. Okay, so the final step in this Lightroom tutorial is to export your picture for Instagram. So you're going to go to the crop, and Instagram has a specific crop of 4:5, which gives you the most real estate when you look at a picture on Instagram on your phone. And this is that crop. So just find your favorite angle, and I think I'm happy with this. This looks pretty cool, and hit done. So now what you can do is you can go ahead and export it. So head off to the library. You can either click export or go to file and hit export over there, or not plugin, export. I'm just going to hit export here. So click on the picture, hit export and save it to wherever you want to. Keep your quality at 100. And I think that's about it. Just smash that export button. And that's it. If we minimize Lightroom now, we will see that it is saved to that folder, and if you can open it, and boom, you can mail this to yourself, put this on your phone, and Instagram has a worthy picture on its portfolio. So that's it from me, guys. I hope you found this tutorial insightful. If you liked this video, then take that like button and just subscribe if you aren't already. Like, what are you doing? We put out videos every single week. We're killing it. And a quick shout out to my dad. He's turning 60 today, so give him some love in the comments below. And I will see you with the gang in the next one. Cheers, guys.